so don't hide out. We still have some people downstairs, but it's really important that we honor your time by running on time, starting on time, ending on time. What we're going to do as we get up and running is give two people that aren't panelists or involved in the program an opportunity to talk about their business. Two people. First up, do you want to? No? Anyone? Anyone? Yes, our wonderful events manager. 30 seconds or less, you know the rules.
Hi, so I'm event managing today, but what I do Monday to Friday is I'm an architectural designer for a Coco creative studio. So if you've ever found yourself looking at your home and thinking, I don't know how to make this work, this isn't working, this looks, is this even worth me investing in? Like, should I do this, should I not? A Coco helps you figure out your space, figure out how to make it work before you spend the money. So we do layouts, we do 3D models of your space, we specify finishes, floors, walls, all that stuff, and you can really visualize and see, even if you're like purchasing a property as well, we do pre-purchase packages to help you make an informed decision and not waste your money and make sure your space works for you. So if you are after an architect, that's me, I'm an architect, come say hi.
All right, we have time for one more. This is the starting a business slide with Emma. There you go. One more business. Come and say who you are, what you do. People are too shy. Come on. Everyone give her a round of applause. 30 seconds or less.
Hi guys, my name is Tola and I'm currently building like a charity called Rebuild Restore, and we aim to help the homeless people and provide them with hope. So we don't just provide accommodation, but we provide support with budgeting, integrating communities. So we're looking for referrals, we're looking for funding in order to expand, and I'm happy to speak to anybody who can help.
So I can help because the Redbridge Chamber of Commerce does have a charity and social sub-team, and we also have HLP, which is Healthy Living Projects, as a part of it. So I'm going to introduce Emma, and I'm also going to introduce Gemma to come to the stage. Emma will be hosting this session, which is starting a business, so she'll introduce all the guests. But as we go into this, I just want to, Gemma first, and then Emma. I just want to thank Gemma, who is from Redbridge Giving and has been amazingly helpful in putting together our first annual Redbridge Chamber of Commerce Awards. We had very little time to put it together, and you've been amazing. So I'm going to hand over to you, and you can announce the winner. And if you go over there, I'll hold it, and we can get a good photo with them and everything.
Thank you. Oh, hello. Okay, so Redbridge Giving's been working on the award, as Anthony said. We worked with a panel of residents to shortlist the 3 nominees who would go on to the Chamber's vote. It was really brilliant to see how keen the panel were to ensure that the shortlist consisted of charities who really meaningfully and practically benefit the people of Redbridge. So, without further ado, the winners of this year's Redbridge Chamber of Commerce Charity of the Year Award are One Place East. Would you like to come up?
We don't have any like cinematic music or anything. But we do.
I know we should have had a drum roll. Next year,
Yeah.
next year we'll have a drum roll. Brilliant.
You can take a picture with them. Oh.
I know, I was just going to say, One Place East are a really great local charity. They're actually based quite near here. They do amazing work with disabled people, and maybe they can tell you a bit more about themselves, but I think it's so good that they've won this award. So. Make sure you can see the award. Come up. Okay, who would like to say a word?
Hi everybody, I'm Kate Harrison. I'll introduce you to everybody. This is Cynthia. This is Claudette. This is Rick. I'm Kate, and this is Margaret, our CEO. We've been going for 30 years. We had our 30th anniversary last September. So we're the old boys on the block. And I run a reminiscence group on a Monday, which is very popular between 2 and 4 in the afternoon. We have about 12 to 14 members. We have a site support group run by OAs. We have a men's walking group on a Thursday, usually in Valentine's Park. Yeah, we do befriending. We have a mental health befriending. We have dementia befriending, where we have volunteers going out and meeting people for coffee or doing little tasks for people, doing their shopping or meeting them. Yeah, so we do so many different things. You had enough of me then? Okay.
Congratulations and thank you. And thank you to Redbridge Giving for everything. Thank you. All right, I'm going to introduce Emma now, and she is from Firefly Hub. I'll allow her to tell you a little bit about herself. She'll be presenting the Starting a Business workshop or panel.
Good afternoon. I'm Emma Rollison, for those of you that have not met me before. I'm the founder of Firefly Hub Networking. And Firefly Hub has a little bit of a story to it because I met my partner in Barbados and he relocated to London and he was really struggling for work, okay? And even though he was well established in Yorkshire, down in London, he knew nobody. And that is why we started the networking group. Within 6 months, he was fully self-sufficient of the leads that he got from networking. So when Anthony says to you, get involved today and take up the networking opportunities, you never know what doors are going to be opened. So really do try to speak to as many people as you can and really work out those synergies. So today we are here because we're starting a business, hopefully, or we're on that journey and we're here to support one another and take the most away from today as we can. And in order to do that, we need expertise. And luckily for you, we have a fantastic panel with a range of expertise, all ready to take you through their experiences so that you don't make the mistakes that a lot of us make as entrepreneurs, which is what we're here for. So, firstly, I'd like to welcome Simon Teague to the stage. Simon is a New Levels Results business coach, an executive coach as well. So welcome, Simon.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Feel like we're at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe
take a seat?
Yeah, do you maybe want to sit
You want me
down?
on the end?
Yeah. Okay, and then next up we have John Nimmen from Gravita, an accountant and business advisory service. Then we have Lillian Zaman, who is representing State Bank of India UK and who is actually the area branch manager. So we are in good hands today. And last but not least, we have Chris Holt from Holt CX Consultancy. And he specialises in customer experience with your businesses. So welcome, Chris. No props. Oh, you have got a prop. Okay, Simon, can we start with you? Is that okay, as soon as though you've got a mic?
Perfect.
So when we start out in business, and I remember the journey, and it's taken me 3 years to get to the stage that I have. What would be the one thing that you say is the most important thing to do as a business owner when starting out?
Wow, that's a really good question. And in fact, there are many things you need to think about. But the one thing for me, when I first started out, which was back in 2008, I would use the word persistence. You know, you get a lot of knockbacks when you start out in business. You make a lot of wrong decisions, and that's just the natural way of things. You know, you start off with the good intentions, you have a direction of travel, but you will find when you're starting up a business that sometimes you'll come into, blind alleys, and you'll be down the wrong road, and you'll have to turn back and go back the other way. And for me, it was a real struggle, I'll be honest with you. The first 4 years were really difficult. And at one point, I was almost homeless because of it. And trying to get a business when you have no capital, and you feel like no one else believes in you, and you're on your own, and you're almost homeless, and you have nothing else left. The one thing I had was persistence. And I just kept on going, kept telling myself, I know I've got something. I don't quite know what it is, but I've got something that can help me get to where I want to be. And I just kept on going and keep on believing in yourself.
So I can relate to this, and I think resilience is key. But despite that, a lot of businesses fail, don't they? Why do you think that is?
I think statistically 3 out of 4 businesses fail in the UK in the first 4 years. And the main reason for that is promoting what I do, really, which is that I'm a coach. So I'm a business and executive coach, and many businesses make mistakes because they can only see a certain direction, one-dimensional. And when you've got someone that can come alongside you and work with you shoulder to shoulder, you get a totally different perspective. And really, that's what coaching is. So you don't necessarily have to go out and pay for a coach, but you should seek wise advice. And there are many people around you, fellow entrepreneurs, ChatGPT, people that you could speak to. The Chamber of Commerce is most definitely a really good place you could come to get advice, to run your ideas, your thoughts through with someone else, and get them to ask you the questions that I find businesses don't ask themselves. And it's because they don't ask themselves those questions that 3 years down the line they've run out of cash. And the number one killer for business, by the way, if you run out of cash, you can't keep going. So that's why businesses fail in the main. It's not because they didn't have a great idea, it's because they didn't have great support. And make sure you've got really great support around you. And this environment here is a great place to start.
Fantastic advice. I do follow the School of Hard Knocks on social media, and they look at how to become a millionaire really quickly, and he sort of travels around. I don't know if any of you have come across it. And one thing that always comes out of his conversations is he asks the millionaires, how can we fast track this process? And he always says, get a mentor. So yeah, absolutely. So are there any questions? Is anyone sat there thinking, I really want you to answer this question? Anyone? Yeah? Oh, fantastic.
So the question is, when did I get my first major breakthrough in business? I went to, my background was in banking and finance. Welcome, fellow banker. And I just thought to myself, what am I doing trying to build my business on my own? So I went back to my roots a little bit. I went back to my network, people that knew me. You know, what you find in business is that it's much easier to sell to people that know you, like you, and trust you. A lot of people knew me, but they didn't necessarily like me. And a lot of other people knew me and maybe liked me, but they didn't know whether to trust me. And I was trying to sell to that market. So my breakthrough came when I realized this whole thing around know, like, and trust, especially if you're a service industry business, yeah? And so I went right back to the people that knew me, liked me, and trusted me. And it wasn't very long before they were phoning me up saying, Simon, you're doing coaching, right? I said, yes. It wasn't for them, but it was for someone they knew. And they would say, would you pick up the phone to this person because they really need some help right now? And it wasn't long before the number of referrals, which is where I get most of my business, started to come on stream and turn things round. Great question, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. I think referral partners are really good, and that's what comes out of networking as well. So for those that are new to that term, it's when business owners are in contact with the clients that need your services. And so, for example, a business coach might recommend an accountant when they start looking at the figures and know that they need help with their cash flow and getting everything in order. Which brings me on to John. So, John, somebody's starting out in business and they're starting to make progress and they're wondering whether they should be a limited company or operate as a sole trader. How would they make that decision?
Well, firstly, thank you everyone for being here and it's delighted to be here. I am Redbridge born and bred, so it's really interesting, great to see so many different Redbridge businesses. It's a lot of the answers and we're going to give are based on, you know, facts or maybe not. I think what Simon's done really well is say that everything is quite nuanced, and this is a really nuanced question. Historically, I think accountants straight away would say, you're turning over a certain amount of money, you're making a certain amount of profit, incorporate. And it's right for many reasons, but actually, one of the reasons, which would be the main one normally, is tax, right? But obviously, as we know, taxes are rising, and that gap now between tax of running for a limited company or tax of running for a sole trader is getting very, very small. In fact, sometimes you're worse off. So it isn't a straightforward computer says question. I think what you've got to look at most and foremost is how it suits you as a business owner. You know, again, business coach, bank, see people, cash flow is an issue, but our fundamental biggest problem is that most of you here today, this money is yours. You need it, you focus your life on it. Does a limited company, with the stipulations that come with it, the money is actually the company's and so forth, does it work for you? That'd be a number one factor. Another factor is, what is your business? Are you protecting an asset? Are you protecting some sort of IP? Are you going to monetize something in the future? A limited company is a good route for that. But the main one reason is, fundamentally, is if you are dealing with the public maybe, or with creditors, customers, you have that veil of incorporation as a limited company. And that protects you, as long as you're behaving yourselves as directors, you know, not acting improperly, that protects you. You know, that if you're, unfortunately, as Simon says, businesses do fail, having the incorporation protects you by creating a separation between you as director and shareholder and the company itself being its own entity. So that's a really practical factor. Another reason is obviously that there are many benefits available as being a limited company through the tax system, such as benefits such as having a car, particularly electric cars, which are great if you want to save a bit of money. If you have private medical health, if you've got family members that, you know, you're going to offer a few spare hours to every now and then, you can pay them through limited company as a tax deductible expense. There are many factors to do it. It's not a simple answer, and that's why come and talk to accountants, talk to advisors, talk to coaches, talk to solicitors, talk to whoever. But I'm going to contradict Simon here. When it comes to this sort of stuff, don't talk to ChatGPT without talking to somebody else first of all. That's not the answer. And we have that, you know, we're very practical. We get a lot of people coming, but, you know, AI says this and AI says that. But fundamentally, it's talk to an accountant about this sort of question, or another business accredited person.
Absolutely, and I think we always face the challenge as well with what accounts cost, right? Coming to an accountant and coming to a business coach, and we have to really look at every cost associated with the business when we're starting out. Because some of us are doing it on a shoestring, right? And we have to really look after the pennies. So at what point do you think, as somebody who's starting out in business, would they say, okay, I've hit that point now I need an accountant?
We are incredibly respectful of the balance between cost and the value you're getting for it. This compliance point isn't cheap, and fundamentally, actually, I'm not going to sit here and say I do compliance better than any other firm you may be using. All accountants do compliance. That's what we do. But the difference is the expertise that comes with it. And I think you have to balance the value of yourself or another firm or any firm doing it over the risks, the costs, of course, but fundamentally the risks that come with it. There are many things that we can all sit here and do. We can all incorporate a company by logging onto Companies House. We can all log onto HMRC and set up a gateway and VAT register your business. We can all set up a payroll scheme. But if you get that one bit of information wrong, HMRC could pick on it. And then the cost of unpicking it is where that risk of you doing it yourself over contacting an expert is unfortunately where you pay more for getting it wrong in the first place. As of anything, it's very nuanced, and we are here to help you out along the way and offer our expertise in doing such things. And we're a firm that likes to think that we are here for your whole journey, very holistic. We offer obviously payroll additionally, or payroll, bookkeeping, all that sort of stuff. But again, most accountancy firms do. We also offer HR services, but we see ourselves more as the advisors along the journey. And I think when you're appointing an accountant, exactly as what Simon has already said, it's got to be someone you trust. There's stats out there that say accountants normally are a business's number one advisor, the person they turn to, because not everyone's got a business coach. Although I see more and more people have it, but most people will have an accountant, and you've got to trust the person who's giving you that tax advice. And it shouldn't just be 9 months later. It should be proactive. It should be timely. It should be there when it matters, not after the horse has bolted, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think often, when you're faced with, say, okay, my fees are £800, you can initially say, oh, that's such a big cost, I'm going to have to think about it. But often when it gets to end of year and you need your accountant, often they can save you a lot more than the fee, knowing how to submit tax returns and do everything associated with the accounts. So fantastic. Are there any questions in the audience for John? Anybody wondering whether you need an accountant at the moment? Anybody want to share what stage of business they're at? No? No? Well, I've got one more question for you. Yeah. So we've got the Employment Law Act that's coming out, and the landscape for everything is changing at the moment, okay? And it's putting business owners under a lot of pressure. How can we justify an accountant in this climate?
I think the fundamental answer comes back to the previous question, that it's a fundamental cost of running a business. It's you need the not a fundamental cost, apologies. I don't want to say it's everyone sign up for an accountant. There are obviously things you can do, but I think you should have the protection of knowing that you have someone to make sure you're getting it right, because the cost of getting things wrong is sometimes a lot worse than the cost you've saved in the first place. How do I justify it? It's not simply a tax number. It's that reassurance. It's feeling that you've got someone to support you on that journey, and helping you make the decisions along. I think you should have someone who adds value to the numbers that they're giving you, and I think that in itself will provide you with value above and the amount that you are spending on the accountant. Look, compliance is an unfortunate cost of life when it comes to many different things, but fundamentally it comes back to the cost of getting it wrong, and you have to balance that risk and value.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's become apparent to me literally yesterday was where I used to accept invoices, for example, and people would put on the bottom, oh, I'll be responsible for my own tax and national insurance. You can't do that anymore. Okay, they're employed, right? And if you don't get that right, I think prison has been mentioned by Labour. I think that's come out. as you're committing money laundering, fraud, all of that, and it comes under that bracket. So do speak to an accountant, do get the right advice and get yourself set up correctly is my advice from the start, so that you don't fall into that. So next up we have Lillian. I'm going to ask you a question, but I actually already know the answer, right? Because I've had this myself, luckily enough. But what do you think is the benefit of having a business account as a startup?
So you really do need to keep your finances separate. When it comes to you've opened your business, you've spoken to an accountant, now it's time to go and decide, what you need to do in order to get an account open. If you don't separate your personal and your business funds, then it does cause a lot of problems. For example, when you're doing your accounting, you can't mix up your personal expenses along with your business expenses. That's going to, mess things up for accounting. Having a bank account also, what it does is it does give you that trustworthiness. If you're trying to entice customers to have business with you, do business with you, or if you're trying to acquire certain services, if you don't have a business account, then it doesn't show that you are an established business. It's so important that you have a business account in order to show that. Also, if you're looking for payroll, doing your taxes, accounting, any kind of credit worthiness, you do need to establish your business through a bank account. So there is a lot of reasons why you need to have a separate bank account, and it does go back to your accounting and trying to keep everything separate and not keep it all together. So it's quite basic, but it is very important to do that.
Absolutely. And I know from working with my accountant that it's actually a lesser fee the more organised you are, because there's less work to do, sifting through accounts, separating out the personal from the business. And there have been times when I've lost a card and I've put things through on the business account that I shouldn't, and it's created a lot of extra work. So if you want to keep the costs down on your accountant, that's my little tip there. We've talked about the importance of the business account. What is the process of opening up a business account with you?
Okay. So, not just with us, with pretty much all banks, you do need to provide your personal information as well as your business information, and then you also need to provide documents. So depending on what type of business it is, whether it's a sole trader, whether it's a partnership, whether it's a limited company, you would need to provide the documentation for that. So that would be your driver's license, your proof of address. Make sure that if it is a limited company or a partnership, that it is set up on Company House, and that we can, get the information from Company House. So pretty much, hopefully, it's a straightforward business, and the documents that you provide doesn't, open up to more questions. But proof of address, proof of ID, and making sure that you have registered your company if it is a limited or partnership company.
Lovely. And are there any questions that we've not covered yet?
So are you looking to buy an asset in the UK? Okay. And you're going to be buying that asset as a business? Okay. You would need to register a business in the UK first. So even though you have a business that's established, back in Estonia, you would need to register a business here. So once you've registered a business, you would be able to, if you're looking to purchase an asset, there are banks that will offer loans to you, so long as you meet the criteria. But the first thing would be to register your business. Please.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's absolutely right, and I think you have to make sure also that what you're buying is there efficiencies that you can look at from a tax point of view as well. If you've got a business, there's capital allowances available. You can claim, which is something called that you can claim AIA, which is annual investment allowance, and also you get the first year allowance as well, which means you can get 100% write down up to a certain value. I'm not going to start quoting it because I've forgotten. But yeah, she's absolutely right. If you've got a business limited, even as a sole trader, you still get capital allowance limits, but particularly if a limited company, if you're going to get funding to purchase an asset, I would 100% run it through a limited company to do that.
Yep, fantastic. And there are lots of options for funding to help you out there. Anthony at Redbridge Council is a brilliant person to tap into. He's got a wider network. So if any of you are looking for funding, definitely have a chat with him there. But when we are starting out in business, John, would you say that it should be a priority to make sure that everything is organised when you're handing it over? Are we thinking, if we're starting, before we sort of look at the money coming in regards to a spreadsheet, something simple? I mean, basics. How would you want it presented to you?
Listen, yeah, it's absolutely right. Like, there's many softwares out there, particularly, obviously, the biggest one at the moment is Xero. We as a firm prefer that product. Doesn't mean that other products are inferior. But yes, I think to get yourself compliant for the future, things are changing. As a sole trader, we have Making Tax Digital, which is coming in from 1st of April. So if you're above 50,000, you will have to have a compliant software. Excel spreadsheets won't work. So it's really important that you get yourself prepared for that ongoing change as the threshold comes down from 50,000 as a sole trader. As a limited company, Making Tax Digital will come again in at some point, so spreadsheets will become obsolete in terms of recording your business. Yes, there are bridging softwares, but really, if you want to get the best out of your financial data, using a cloud software is the most important thing. Again, this all comes down to the balance of time, value, risk, and we know that business owners know their industries better and their business is better than anybody, but having the time to do and keeping the records up to date is the thing that is the biggest obstacle, I'd say, and that's where everyone here particularly comes in and helps your businesses out, having the time to do anything.
Yep.
And using these preferred advisors to save your time is also saving your money, really, long term.
And I think technology is moving on so quickly, and we have AI, and every time we get used to something, it changes. And often we can look at sort of where we can invest money and time. So Chris, when we're sort of looking at technology inside of our business, what would you say is the absolute for any business starting out?
I think it's difficult when you're starting out to know where to spend your money and where to do it wisely. But giving your customers a way of contacting you is fundamental, because if they can't contact you, what are they going to do? They're going to look for a different service. So if you don't have a website, what are they going to look at? If you don't have a phone number, where are they going to go? If you don't have email, where are they going to go? And I think something like, so we're a Zoom partner. Everyone knows Zoom. Probably everyone's nan was on it in COVID. Everyone's got very used to it. They're not just a video company though. So you can put a phone service through that, and that allows you to not give out your mobile number, which might not sound significant at the moment, but when you've got customers a couple of years in calling you at 10 in the evening because they want help with something, if you haven't put guardrails around that, then that's your mobile number. And I say this with irony because my business cards have my mobile number on them. So don't get 500 business cards printed as well, day one. You can put virtual numbers on things, you can put all kinds of services on things, and everything is very accessible now to allow your customers to get hold of you 24/7 with their inquiries without necessarily having to speak to you as well.
Brilliant. I think as well, as small business owners, it's really hard juggling things because while we're working on the business, we might be missing calls that could be valuable leads. So if I don't know if you're a heating engineer, if you're lifting a boiler, you can't be taking customer inquiries. But I think often the thought of having somebody taking those calls on their behalf really worries them because they think that they can't afford it. How big a business do we have to be able to invest in sort of a call centre or, an answering service?
So, a single person now. Realistically, you don't have to have deep pockets to invest in the technology. So, the virtual agent solutions, so you might think of them as bots, they've really come on when we talk about where technology is now. I'm only months away from being able to put my own voice into my virtual assistant, so it sounds like me. Maybe won't have the level of sarcasm I have potentially. But the whole point there is, yeah, I might be on a customer site for the day and I'm not available. But if I've got a virtual assistant that can answer what I do, what I specialize in, and also potentially how I can help you without you necessarily having to speak to me, then that makes life easier. It might be that I open it up so you can just book time in my calendar without having to speak to me, for example. All of that means you're not losing that potential customer, because if that customer is contacting you, if you don't get back to them, they are going to go elsewhere ultimately. And it's, can you afford that?
100%. I think the stat is if you reply to somebody within 5 minutes, you're 95% more likely to get that job. So if you've got a bot or some system in place where somebody's answering those inquiries and warming them up for you, you're then not going to lose that lead if you are lifting a boiler or doing something that you can't take your attention away from. So are there any questions for Chris that you wanted to ask? Maybe you're thinking about implementing some technology inside your business and you're wondering what might be the best fit for you. Yep.
So as a startup, let's say you have a business account, you want to invest in technology. How do you optimize both your technology and your payment system where it goes with one click?
So, depends on what you're doing. If you're operating commerce, you might look at a Shopify or is it Dojo and the various other card machines, for example. They're all very easy to use. There's like a dozen of them that you can get off the shelf now and just use them straight with a phone. Don't even need a card reader nowadays. You can just use your phone and it will use the chip in that to take payment, which scares me slightly. If I think 10, 15 years ago, what we were doing. In terms of optimizing your technology, your investment in your technology is a business cost, and as John will say, that's something that it goes against the cost of your business, so that's tax benefit as well.
I just to echo Chris has just said, there's now, if you set your cloud accounting up correctly, be it with all your different applications, your ecosystem as it would, you've got Shopify, you've got whatever your bank is with, and all the other payment solutions, they all come in together. All these add-ins will come back together and give you this financial picture of health or otherwise. And it's really important. That's the brilliance of tech as where we sit now as starting a new business today, is you can sync all that into one function. I think everything everybody here is saying about all these different, different platforms and things, it all comes into this one piece that gives you that knowledge and how your business is doing and what's coming out of it.
Brilliant. I think as well, you mentioned before websites as one of the key places that people might go if they're considering your services, to your website to check your credibility, have a little look around on socials, make sure you're present. I, for one, get really frustrated when I go to a website and I can't find what I'm looking for. And sometimes they do these campaigns on Facebook, don't they, where you click on it and you think that looks good, that I need that, and then the landing page doesn't represent what you see on Facebook. If all of us were going to go on a journey to start thinking about the customer experience, what would you say is the number one thing to start with in order for us to give value straight away to those that are looking for us?
Make it easy.
Yeah.
Make it really easy so that your customer can't go away or won't go away. I'm like you. The moment I'm on a website and I can't find what I need to, I throw my toys out. I go to Google, I go to ChatGPT, I find a competitor, I go and find what I need to in the moment. So one, it's have a good website, but also have the right tools to make your life easier. So I'm going to introduce a prop. There's a QR code on there. If you would like to give that a scan, that will take you to an example virtual agent. So we created a virtual agent for this event. We called it Bridgie, after Redbridge. And this bot will answer your questions about this event. And what we've done is taken the website and put it into a bot, because also people are lazy. Let's face it, we're all lazy. We want things to be easier and quicker than it was 10 minutes ago. So here, instead of you having to trawl through a website to find information, you can just ask a bot an experience. So it doesn't go to a full website, it goes to a chat, and you can ask questions. So it doesn't go to the East London site. We've also got one down on our stand where it's voice. So exactly the same build. We take all of that information and you can just go, hey, so can I bring my dog to the event? That was one of the questions my wife asked when we were testing it. Random things, and if you've got the information there, you just put it in the hands of your customers easier, and then the goal is to then give them a path so they can then transact. So we contain it within that experience, or we elevate it to a human so that that customer doesn't go cold.
That's fantastic, and I think the amount of money sometimes you can spend on sort of somebody being sat there to answer these inquiries, to have it automated and not to have to worry about it and know that that's taken care of, is of massive value. Did you have a question?
Well, thank you for coming to talk to us today. Thanks. What you just said really links into my next question. So basically, we are operating in a very competitive arena. So how do I ensure that our site is AI ready? Because when people go and search for something, there will be numerous responses for the kind of services that we provide. Is there, do you have any suggestions? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way to do it is to take your website and go to, say, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever AI service you're using and say, tell me about this company only using this website, and ask questions there. If you're not getting the answers you would expect, then your website probably needs restructuring or more information on it. So use the AI tools like a consumer would. So if I go to ChatGPT and say, who's offering CX consultancy services in Essex, for example, and I don't come up, then I need to work harder on what my presence is so that I land in that search. So use AI to turn it on your business and go, right, and then you can see where you would potentially need to improve your website and your service.
Just one more question, yes? Is there a way to bypass a cheat sort of kind of AI? Because, everyone, whichever engine you use for search will have an AI response first before anything organic happens. How do I cheat AI?
Can I answer this one? So what I've found when promoting Firefly is that it used to be solely focused on websites, right? And then AI has come in, and now when you search a business, AI finds it for you before you get the reviews, before you get the actual website coming up. You can't cheat it. What you have to do is work with it. So you have your testimonials, and what AI is doing now, it just doesn't go to your website. It goes all across the channels, all the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and it goes and gets a real representation of your business, and that's what it presents to you. So I think if you were to invest in all the social media channels, really get on top of your customers to get the testimonials, that is what will be at the forefront of your AI story. No worries. So we have 3 minutes left. Yes, absolutely. Did you want to?
Yeah, so I'd like to pick up on that because I've just come from the AI workshop with Adwa. She was awesome if she's in the room. But anyway, what's really interesting and think about the change is that we used to look at our websites as our shop window. And we might even be tempted to pay money to Google to get our website more higher ranked. But Google is only looking at what you're saying about yourself. What's happening now with AI and the likes of Perplexity and ChatGPT and all these other AI models is they're not looking at what you're saying about yourself. They're looking at what other people are saying about you. So one of the most trawled platforms, which I was surprised at, is Trustpilot. They go to Trustpilot, they find out what's everybody else saying about your business. And so when I come on and I'm searching for you, I will only find you if the nature of what I'm asking will resonate with what other people are saying. Now that's really tricky then, because we think about having to write our website in a certain way so that we resonate with people. But the key answer to it really is create raving fans. If you have a business, find raving fans, which are people who know, like, and trust you, going back to what I was saying earlier, but actually love what you do so much, they'd be willing to put a testimonial on Trustpilot, on LinkedIn, a Google review, a case study, those kind of things that you can publish somewhere. Anywhere where you can get your clients talking about you and your business is really where it's moved to.
And yeah, and absolutely, and also get them to get you more clients, right? If they're operating in those circles and you've done an amazing job, let them go and shout about you, because that's really what gets the leads over the line. They're all already warmed up for you. And yeah, it's so much easier to secure that business. So we have 1 minute to go. I think we're going to wrap it up there. So a big thank you to our panelists. You've been fantastic. And I know that I've learned a lot as well from your answers. So thank you so much. And we'll all be around. If you want to come and grab us and ask any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. Okay, thank you.